Hi, it's Ricky of Moshville Times here once again. Now, tonight we have the band Melted Messiah, who are a Scottish black and jazz stoner sludge metal band with a lot of other influences thrown into the mix as well. So tonight we've got guitarist vocalist Mark, and we have the drummer John, unfortunately. But for those that are new to the band, you could consider them to be the white stripes of Scottish extreme metal. So, because as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the band Melted Messiah. So welcome, Mark. Welcome, John. It's a pleasure to meet you. How the devil are you?
Good evening. All right, not too
Good,
bad.
thank you. Thank you for having us.
Good, good. I don't know. I hope you're having a couple of beers for this interview because that's the one rule that I have for interviews. Good boy. Good boy.
I do. It's Bud Light though because I'm on a diet,
Watch the calories. Watch the
but
calories.
it's not terrible.
But we're going to talk about some good riffs for a wee second then. So
Sure.
with your brand new album, Some Good Riffs, getting released a few months ago now, how did it finally feel to finally release it after all the blood, sweat and tears that you had put into it? Was it quite a long process to get it ready?
Nah, not really. We tend to just do like an album in a weekend, and then as far as the recording goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was a bit of preparation, obviously, writing it, figuring out what we were going to do.
Yeah,
It was
there wasn't much blood, sweat, and tears. That's the thing. It was because the first album was based on Mark's 6 tracks that he's had since
2012.
yeah 10 years of these 6 tracks. So the hardest part was like, right, what's the seventh track? What's the next song that Melted Messiah is going to do?
Yeah.
And we just always start when we practice. We always sort of jam something out. There's always just a sort of beginning warm up riff, and then I join in. And I think maybe one of those riffs just became that first song. I can't actually remember really because it's not like there's a writing process as such. There's like a weekly practice at Loop Mania. Shout out Loop Mania.
Loop Mania.
Try and get a free session in there, Liam. And it's just jams, and it's mainly just usually practicing for gigs. And then it's I think maybe Fair and Fairnessin was the first one we had, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was the first one that we had like in its entirety, and we
Yeah.
had started playing that live as well before we recorded it. Mind so, because we were
Yes.
playing that, we played that at the last Red Trust Festival.
That was the one, that track that sort of bled from
And
the first
aye,
album into the second. Yeah, we were
that
playing
was
it.
like
Yeah,
that was like the sort of pivot point where it became sort of like
yeah,
both of us
Yeah.
both putting input into it.
yeah,
Whereas I think previously we had just adapted the existing songs for John's style. Like we were like initially started as like a kind of like a stoner sort of band. It was more like stoner rock, stoner metal, sort of in the style of Caius, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was there's nothing spectacular about it. But then towards the end of the previous drummer leaving, we started to go in a more extreme direction. And then we were like, hold on, we're onto something here. And then John joined and gave those tracks his input, if you like. And then we finally recorded them. But the current album is basically the product of both of our input. It's
yeah.
like, oh, what about if we do this? What about if we do this? What about if we have a song with D beats because we haven't had one before?
Yeah, that was it. It was a lot of that. It was like, let's do a D-beat song, or let's do. We were listening to a lot of Chat Pile.
Okay.
Shout out Chat Pile. But so there's a lot of influence there from that sort of from their albums on my approach to the drums, I suppose. Let's do for me and Mark, it's like, let's do that whole sort of jazz doom half joking thing that we've got going on.
So who did it come from? Was it a case of like, I don't know, I mean, obviously the idea was there with the self-titled debut, so we can't say like COVID really, and you listen to different styles of music. What made you go down this route?
I think it's the same as I apply to everything in life, really. It's just like, it's kind of like, why not? It's like, I don't feel that you have to walk a specified path. You know, like all guitarists, or not all guitarists, but like, I mean, in metal is saturated with guitarists that are playing. They're saying you must have this amplifier, you must play these things, and you must play it through this speaker or whatever. And I'm like, "Look, it's kind of boring to me." And it's the same with the recording process as well. Like, you must record the drums to a click, you must overdub everything, you must go through these processes and what have you. Whereas we're like, nah, we just want to get it over with as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that
the jazz doom thing as well comes a lot from more the live aspect, where it's like, when I'm playing the drums, I'm not, as much as I'll be, you know, I know what the song is and I know what the general beat of that song is, I'll just play whatever I want on that given night. Not to the point where I'm playing a completely different, you know, I'm playing a reggae beat and Mark's still playing the same song. But the jazz doom
maybe we should.
comes from the fills, I suppose, really, because, you know, when I'm in the beat, I'm in the beat. But like, I'll then throw some spaghetti at the walls during the sort of the fills and all that sort of stuff, the sort of more frivolous parts of a drum beat that don't really need to be there. So I suppose that's where the jazz doom thing comes from. And then also the idea of us just sort of having a style that you feel like we're just making it up as we go along all the time. But really, there is a fair bit of thought behind it. Like, we do approach live stuff with like, we're going to do this time and we're going to approach it like this. And set lists are always thought of properly and all that sort of stuff. Sorry, one of my kids has just walked in.
It's okay. We're going to talk about set lists later.
It's like, I'm just gonna put myself on a metal podcast. Another one.
We're actually going to talk about set lists later on. But Mark, you've obviously been in the band from the beginning. How easy or difficult was it to find John? And I hope you certainly made him audition twice.
It wasn't even a case of finding him. It was more like he found me. I was like, because I got.
You two go. Sorry,
I'm keeping this in. I'm not going to edit this out. I'm keeping it in.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good stuff.
It's not like the yeah, I'm quite renowned for being a.
So yeah, I think
anyway,
I got to a stage where it was like kind of make or break. It was like, there's no point continuing as like a one-man band. Like, me and James decided that we had different priorities. James was the previous drummer, and so he wanted to do other stuff. I wanted to continue roughly where we were going, and I thought, well, if we don't get another drummer now, then that's it. Like, I'm going to call it a day. So then John messaged me and said something along the lines of like, don't get your hopes up too much, but like, I wouldn't mind having a shot at this. And I was actually quite, because we'd known each other like sort of vaguely from the past, from putting on gigs and things like that, and attending gigs and what have you. Because I used to put gigs on in Dunfermline, and John had played a few with Hair of the Dog. So yeah, we've got like quite mutual interest. So he contacted me, and then I was like, all right, why not? I was quite taken aback at. I was like, really? Because I always regarded John as a really good drummer, which he is. I was like, what do you want to hang about with me for?
Oh, you see, that's the point, is that so when Mark put Hair of the Dog on at Monty's in Dunfermline, Mark kicked that gig off and he just played on his own, like he has done before, and he's even done when, you know, I've been in the band, but and that's another story for where the Some Good Riffs comes from. But, so that night I was like, wow, look at the balls on this guy, just standing there playing electric guitar, just playing riffs. And the riffs I could hear had potential to be, you know, full songs or whatever. So when I saw that post that Mark said, I just need a drummer, any drummer will do, sort of thing, I was like, well, I'll do it. I'll come along and, you know, see if these riffs can actually, I thought they could work, and let's see if they can work.
Yeah.
And it took, a couple of, the first session we had together was like, oh, right, yeah, you're the promoter guy and I'm the drummer from Hair of the Dog. And like when he says we knew each other, we literally just one time, I think we'd met each other maybe, or twice maybe.
Yeah, it's probably
at
like
his
twice,
gigs.
I think.
And just talking and passing and just like, having a beer like outside Monty's or something. And so, yeah, but there was maybe like a couple of practices we had, and then it was just, there was a click somewhere where it was like, yeah, this is going to work. And yeah, we just started getting bigger and bolder with our sounds, I suppose, after that.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about the sound, but I have to say that Shroom Witch is my joint favourite, along with Black Agnes. But Shroom Witch, to me, it's like a more heavier, darker Queens of the Stone Age song. So, but you get comfortable with the groove and the riff and things like that, and then you put a wee blast beat in there. I was like, you devil.
Yeah. Sometimes I've got, when that bit comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a blast beat.
So was that something new to you, John, like doing the blast beat in a band?
Totally, yeah. So Hair of the Dog's like just a sort of straight rock band. So, and all my other stuff that I've ever done has been kind of sort of stonery riff based,
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff. Round about the same time as I was getting into the last Hair of the Dog album that we wrote, actually, I was thinking of putting blasts in there as well, actually, which is maybe led me towards Mark as well, thinking about the sort of black metal aspect. So yeah, I remember the first time trying to do like Trimensional off of the first album, and then there's the big blast beat bit, which I don't know if that was even in the first version of the, my version of the old songs are my versions of the songs, and I didn't pay attention. I didn't try and replicate any beats that happened before my interpretation of the songs, So it was my own, like, I was hanging myself basically going, I'm going to put a blast beat in here. No one told me I had to. It wasn't contractually obliged to put a blast beat in there. But I was like, I want to. And so, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely no technique whatsoever. I'm literally just going as fast as I can. And
I was going to say that because Mark doesn't.
It works.
That's what I was going to say, because Mark doesn't do like death metal riffs or very, very fast riffs, but when you brought your blast beats in, it friggin' worked, man. And I was like, I had to stop what I was doing. So fair play.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing, like and then so like the blast beats that I've been putting in the first album, which I think maybe just Trimensional, there's only Trimensional, maybe, I can't remember, a little bit on Excavator maybe, but then on the next album, we've got that wee burst during Shroom Witch, and then during Disney Nightmare Puppy, there's that whole really fast middle section that that's one of my favorite bits to play of all time. I've been playing drums since I was 13 years old, and like that, when that bit comes up, I'm like, there's not even like a proper blast beat as such, but it's just so good to play.
Something tells me that for the next release, there's certainly going to be more of them then. And do you know what? I will.
Yeah, we're kind of building up. I think there might be like the momentum of that sort of stuff. Like, I think we've always said, like, the Doomy, like, again, like, if you were going to put a rule on us and stuff like that we never, our rule is to play either really, really, are we allowed to swear on this?
Yes, you can fucking.
Or do you not want to? I was just going to say really, really fucking slow or really, really fucking fast. Nothing like the middle of the road is not where we want to be at all. That's I think what we've, because that's the thing, we're both learning from each other as well. Like we're both in it together. That's the thing. It's like, obviously Mark is kind of the melted Messiah aspect of it, but we're both going like, oh, we can do as like the D-beat song, like Black Agnes, like, oh, we can do a D-beat song, or we can do this crazy sort of almost prog, speaking of Disney, Nightmare Puppy, like this sort of like 7-minute long, there's lots of sections to it, sort of song. And
I do have to ask, like, what was the purpose of Doom Bingo? And I loved the laughter in the background with people listening to it, I loved that.
The purpose of it, oh man. Well, that's just, I think.
And who done the voice?
Came up with the idea of skits. I think Mark, you were like, well, let's do skits.
Yeah, we just thought, why not? Like, because there've been albums in the past, like there's the one I can, off the top of my head, I can think of is Faith No More, where there's the guys playing the bongos and he goes, uh, can I get a transfer? You know what I mean? And it goes, fuck you, I'll skate to the beach. And then there's that, I can't remember what the name of the song is, but like
there was one
just like there's little
electro.
bits in between.
There's one electroconvulsive therapy, and that's a cancer song. But you went -3 for that one or something. That was funny.
Yeah.
He just said that off the top of his head. That was the thing. Like the things that we say during that were just done in one take, and we just made it up.
Wow.
We just improved it. So he said electric compulsive on it, and like that's why you could hear me laughing, because I'm in the studio. He's in the booth, and I'm in the studio bit, just absolutely killing myself, because that's the first time I've heard that. It was the first time the engineer Andrew, engineer/producer Andrew Cairns has heard it, and we're all just killing ourselves. I'm trying to think of a funnier one than he. And the bit before, I don't know if you want to maybe talk about it separately, but the bit before Furnison, where we're sort of being the American guys and we're in the pub and in the bar, that we did that separately. But so he was in the booth, he was in the room, the studio room, like the soundboard room, and I was out in the like the recording area, and we spoke at exactly the same time, and Andrew recorded them both at the same time. And what you hear on the record is just, and we didn't know what each other were saying, but there's a bit where like Mark goes like Furnison, and I go, yeah, I know Furnison, but that's just complete chance. So it was like, but I've got a background in acting. I used to be an actor, so I've got a background in like creating things. So I know like I know like little tricks like that where you like people don't know what's happening makes a better result. Creatively sort of thing. So, but maybe the idea of it was just like, let's have fun.
Maybe you shouldn't be in a band. Maybe you should be a comedy show, stand up.
No, that's what I was just about to say. Like, we take more of our influences from. We don't take our influences from music. We take our influences, I would say, and Mark can like either agree or disagree with this, but I think where we take our influences from like skateboarding a lot more than like music and comedy. And yeah, well, that's the thing. And like old skate videos that used to have skits in them and stuff like that. And so we just like, we can just be our tongue is firmly in our cheeks, but we take it very seriously.
Absolutely.
Very serious about putting our tongues in our cheeks, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Well, I may as well keep on going while he's away. But obviously, one of the main reasons for this interview is that you guys are going to be playing Moshville Oktoberfest 2023 on Saturday, October the 7th at Ivory Blacks in Glasgow. Now, I know that you've played that venue before, but I'm obviously really looking forward to seeing you guys playing. I also hope that you bring your old fans with you, and as well as gaining new fans as well. But now that the world's opened its doors to playing live again, what gigs have you played recently, and what do you have in the near future? Then you guys played Beamageddon again, didn't you?
Well, that's where the story of the new album's title comes from.
Right.
Yeah. So we played.
I'll start, and then you can do your bit.
Go for it.
But basically, so first year we went down to Beamageddon. And Mark and his wife Emma have been going to Beamageddon for like 10 years at that point as punters. And when we got together, that's the thing. When we got together, when we were about to record the first album, like, what's our goal here? And Mark was like, well, we could play Beamageddon, this festival that I go to every year down outside Birmingham. And I was like, okay, well, let's make that. And we did it. We at the end of we were meant to do it in 2020, but obviously in 2021 we played it. And then we got invited back to open. Is that right? Open on the Friday night of the 2022 one. And then guess who got COVID?
So I decided
it wasn't even like I was just like I got it and I couldn't, I couldn't physically get up the stairs, let alone drive down to Birmingham and play a gig. So I was out completely.
So I got in touch with Jim Bierman, and I says, look, I'm still going anyway because I'm going as a punter. I'm quite happy to just play a set without John if you're cool with that. And he was like, yeah, why not? So I did. So I played.
How did it go
and
down?
We had this. It went down really well. We had a full house.
I feel at this
because-
point, when you edit this together, you should, Mark, you need to send him a photo of what you looked like, because you looked like the most
I was
badass
dressed up as a
person.
cowboy as well.
It's just
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 cause.
flash it up like how he looked as well. He looked like an Undertaker. From, like,
But it was just a case of like I didn't really have a choice. I needed to play, so I was like, "Well, go for it. I'll do what I can do, and I'll give it my best shot." So I made sure I tried to get the crowd on board and like at the start of the night. So I was getting everybody to just like clap along and what have you, because a bit of the usual banter, because there's always some banter from us.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So I thought I'll give it a bit of that, and it seemed to work. And Beermageddon is a really nice community of people. We know a lot because I've been going since 2015. I know a lot of people there anyway, so there's loads of folk were rooting for us or for me, and it went down all right. And yeah,
Well,
I mean,
He's
it was
been
not
modest.
the
He got
best
a
gig we've
massive
ever
crowd.
played.
He got one of the biggest crowds of the entire. Well, I think a lot of people turned up to see maybe a car crash or something like that. But then we're like, oh, this guy can own a stage on his own. So.
But we had rehearsed such an amazing set, and we had like 2 or 3 new songs that we were
so
going to play.
It was really
from some good riffs
properly
that we
gutting.
hadn't played anywhere before, and it was like, and I still played them, but they just weren't. They didn't have the same power, like they would have with John being there. Eh?
Yeah. Well, I hope you bring your shit, your banter, the riffs.
Oh, we will.
And fucking good tunes.
But that's so he did this, right, and it was, from what I've been told and what I've seen, it was amazing, right? One guy just getting up on stage dressed as basically the Undertaker with a fucking like a black guitar, just like looking doom as fuck. And then but it got reviewed, right? It got reviewed. And the previous year when we played it, it got reviewed. And so this year the reviewer was like, last year I saw them and they were a 2-piece. This year they're a 1-piece. Maybe they should get a bassist or something like that. Went on this big rant, and I was like, that's a bit unfair. And she goes on, and then at some point she says, but there was some good riffs, and I was like, that's what we're calling the new album.
We
just stuck with it. We just stuck
that was
with
it.
guns, right? That's what we're calling it.
I was going to ask you about the album title, but that was a brilliant explanation. So, and you certainly do write good riffs. But I see that we've got like 5-6 minutes left of this session, and I have now forgotten the question that I was going to be asking you. It was that good, I forgot what the question was.
Some good questions.
Yes, in fact, that's what it was.
Some, not all of them.
Ka-ching. You are a 2-piece. Do you think you're going to stay a 2-piece, or are you actively looking for a bassist or another guitarist or anything like that? You're happy the way things are?
We don't need it. We don't need anybody else.
We jammed on the sort of pre-production of the new album. We went into Andrew Kieran's studio. What's it called, Mark?
Secret Basement Studio.
Secret Basement Studio in Leith. Shout out to him. I've watched podcasts. I know what you need to do.
We're going to be talking about Andrew Kieran's later on. Don't you worry about it.
I know, get him in here. But yeah, we jammed with him actually a couple of the new songs. Like we did Fern Furnison with him because he plays an Acidosaurus Bong, and has been a part of the sort of underground scene for ages. So, and it always sounds great, but it doesn't sound like, it's not a massive difference because like Mark's playing through 2 amps. That's the thing. He's got his treble amp over here and his more bass sort of tone. So, and it's loud. I mean, have you never seen us live?
I'll be honest, not yet.
Well, you're going to be in for a shock.
Oh, don't worry. I subscribe to your YouTube channel like donkeys ago and stuff like that. So I have seen you live visually, but not in the flesh.
Visually, yeah. But when you're in the room, people start to cry.
Aye.
We lock the doors, you know.
It's the same at the rehearsal studio as well. Like what we generally get after every practice, if there's people outside, they'll be like, there's only two of you. It's like you make some fucking racket for like just
Yeah.
two guys, and it's the same every time we play. They're like, you sounded like there was fucking 8 of you on stage.
Yeah,
and
and
we're
there's like
yeah,
don't get me-
we
there's
know.
absolute pride about that. There's an absolute pride about that fact that and that's why I like it. That's why I wouldn't get a.
Well, that's what I was going to
basic
say,
bin.
because I think Scotland just now is absolutely huge. The metal scene in Scotland is absolutely huge. I can't actually recollect it being so good. But you have to be unique to stand out, and you guys are unique because you are a two-piece. So you have to do something different, and you guys are certainly doing that. So just keep on doing what you're doing, man. And the formula obviously works. So just
I mean, it's certainly opening doors for us as well because of our uniqueness. But what we're struggling to do is find platforms to put us in front of for people to see us and then go, oh yeah, you guys are actually really good. Come and play at Bloodstock, for example. Or you know what I mean. But like the thing is, we're quite happy. We're not really intending on being like hugely famous or playing tons of stuff because we've got other stuff going on anyway. So what I think we're going to be even more elusive, like going forward. So we'll play like the odd maybe festival or something rather than just play like once a month because there's other bands that play like you can see them once a week, you know, at the same venue.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got no interest in that. We don't have time for it either because we've got other stuff going on. So I mean, we do take this really seriously and we do it properly, but we don't have the time, frankly, to do it full time or anything. You know that. So that's real. You'll never see us going on a 20-day tour of the UK or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you never know. You never know what happens with the success of the next EP or album, but we're going to talk about that in the next section because I'm going to have to pause this just now. That's great. Thanks, guys. But I have to go back to some good riffs now. I have to go back to the recording of this album. So once again, it was recorded live in a basement with Andrew Cairns pressing all the buttons for you once again. So I know the answer to this, but for everybody else, why do you like doing it this way? And do you think that this is the recording style is one that you'll forever stick with?
Mark, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. I think there's a lot to be said for that black metal guy that shall not be named and his, the church burning guy, and his approach to recording. I mean, love it, like it or not, the one microphone in a room has got something to it.
Yeah.
And although we've not set out to replicate that, what we are doing is we're like expressing ourselves. And in terms of myself, I've never in terms of like guitar playing and what have you, I've never really wanted to be like hugely accomplished and clean and whatever. And so like being able to just do everything to a click track and whatever, and then over the top of it seems a wee bit sort of sterile, and it takes away some of like our essence, I think, which is which is much more predominant when you see us live, because it's all, I think when we're more of a live band than we are a recorded band, I think. And when we play live, all those sort of like eccentricities, if you like, and all those little things, they leak out, and we wanted to try and capture as much of that in the recording. We did do overdubs and things like that, but like only for like for additional punch, you know what I mean? Like what we couldn't, to make it sound better recorded than it does live, you need to treat it slightly differently. It's a slightly different animal. You need extra guitar tracks or whatever, which you find on any album. But the essence of it is capturing us like at our best, and when we're at our best is when we're like feeding off each other. So like we're in the same room doing the guitar and the drums at the same time, and then what we then do is we do the vocals over the top. So we'll maybe do a guide vocal into the headphones, but like that's how it works. When we practice as well, we're always in a small room. It's a really small room together. It's the cheapest room.
So how many days did it take you to record it, like, before you were finally happy with the versions?
Days, hours.
Oh,
It took 10, like 10, under 10 hours. Because that's the thing, like, we practice, and we're not a band that, you know, obviously a lot, but like, you know, when you get up the ladder, then bands go into the studio and write the album in there. We write the album, we practice it, knowing that we've got like a weekend to spend some money and we're going to nail it, and that's what we do. And so yeah, it was like I think we recorded the drums in one day, and then Mark overdubs the guitar and the vocals the second day, and then we did the skits for the second album. The first album was done in like even less time than that, I want to say. But for me,
like, the difference though, that's something I was going to compliment Andrew on. The sound on this second album is so much better than your debut.
Yeah, because Andrew did the first album as well. Yeah. But the first album was just like, let's get this out. It was like a sort of like, we just.
Would you like to re-record it again?
No, I really like the first album. The first album, sounds horrendous, and that's a good thing. Where when you're in the Melted Messiah universe, that's our thing. Like, we wanted to sound like if we turn it off, it's a good. We're winning. You know, we don't want to be. That's one of the most important things to us, is that we don't want to be one of these like sort of like crisp sounding, well rehearsed bands that, you know, where you're saying like standing out and stuff like that. So we're like, we're gonna practice as much as we think we need to, and until we think it sounds good, and then but we do not think about it too much. And the
thing is, though, just ironically, we are quite well rehearsed because we practice like almost every week. Like, apart from when we're not getting gigs or anything, we'll probably take a month or so off.
Yeah.
But when we've got a run of gigs coming up like we do, then we try to be as good as accomplished as we can. But conversely, when we're actually in a rehearsal space and we've had enough, we're like, nah, that's enough, because we don't want to make it too rehearsed.
Don't want to make it too clean, and we like all the ragged edges and the rough copies and stuff like that. That's more where we are sort of living when it comes to it. And like, when, just to quickly, because I don't want to be too long on it, but like, the recording live is it's just the best way to do, because as Mark says, we're a live band, so let's record live and do overdubs to just boost the production sound for when you're listening to it in the car or in your, you know, little headphones or whatever. But like, really, it's just, let's capture the essence, let's capture the energy of me trying to do a D beat. I can't do D beats, but I'm trying, and that's better. That's much more metal than someone that's really good at doing D beats, just doing a D beat. Some guy hanging on for dear life to get through the verse. That's where we are, and that's the band that we are.
Silly question, did you record each song live individually, or did you do like two songs?
No, it's done like that. It's done like that. We're not just playing the whole album straight, but it's like, let's just.
That's what we'll do next time. Next time. We're just going to do the whole thing in one go.
You know, we've done in half an hour and stuff like that, so we could do that. But no, it was like we do a couple of takes of that song. We do a couple of takes of every song, basically, until we're all happy with it. But the thing is that we don't beat ourselves over the head with like trying to get it perfect either.
Yeah.
Black Agnes was the one, though. Was the one like
the DB one.
We were all for throwing it out the window.
We were like, literally, I couldn't do the DB.
Glad you didn't.
long enough. So we're like, let's like cut a whole section out, and we just do it, you know. And then the Melted Messiah song at the end of the album, that was the only one that we actually like. So when I was saying about bands that write in the studio, we wrote that in the studio, which I think was actually quite cool, because I've always wanted to just go into the studio with some material and then be like, all right, we've got one more song to get, let's get it in the room. And we did it, and it was like another sort of one take wonder sort of thing. And you know,
was there any material left from Melted Messiah that you used for some good riffs, or is some good riffs completely brand new material?
It's all brand new, I think, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you have any material left over? Are you already looking into the future?
Well, this is the best thing about us is that we are, especially me, I am the ideas man, and I do not want to do anything that actually would, mean that I have to make that idea come true. Leave that up to Mark.
You have the ideas and I execute them.
We went on a tour with Robot Death Monkey and Nasasaurus Bong at the start of the year. You were talking about gigs that we've done and gigs that we've got coming up.
They done your album release show, didn't they? Not
yeah, so that was part of that sort of mini tour with these two great bands and great guys, and it was just a brilliant sort of hang. And on the way back, me and Mark are already like, right, we're doing EPs this time. We're doing, yeah. There's nothing left over from some good riffs, material wise, but we've already got like so many ideas that we now need to write songs for.
So Mark, is John the type of guy that would send you a riff or a drum beat at 4 o'clock in the morning? Saying this is the best yet, by the way, you have to do something with this.
He did say, yeah, I want a drum beat to be like, right, I can't name that because we've got a project. Let's call it Project X, right?
Because the name is so good, we don't want to spoil it.
So we've got Project X on the go, right? And all we have for it at the moment is, and we've also got Project Y. But for each of these projects, we have got.
I think we can talk about Project Y. That's quite funny. The one in the hotel room.
Oh yeah, Project Y, yeah, right. So Project X, we'll probably release hopefully by the start of next year. Project Y though, we were in Inverness, so we done our last few gigs we did with Acid Saurus Bomb. So we've done Edinburgh, Dundee, and Inverness, and they were all fantastic. And we were in a hotel room in Inverness. We got a taxi back. The guy was a legend, the taxi driver. We're going to call him next time we're in Inverness as well.
Shout out that guy.
Yeah, Chris, the taxi driver from Inverness. Anyway, I digress. So we went in and we turned the telly on. We had a couple of beers, and what was on the telly?
Oh no, sorry.
No.
You didn't kiss.
There was
not yet. We're keeping that sexual chemistry going. Will they? Won't they?
So we're watching a film, and it was High Society, which was an old film with Frank Sinatra in it,
right?
And some other dudes, and it wasn't like not the type of film we would just go, oh yeah, let's watch that if it's on Netflix. But it was on, and we watched it, and we just found ourselves getting totally sucked into it. We were like, we could write something about this. So we're going to have a concept EP based on that movie. And it's going to be like, it's going to contain some quotes from that movie and some other bits. And it's like, what if that character had maybe done that?
With us, it could be like, we'll just take a quote from that movie and like, maybe this is our grindcore album. That's the thing with us. We could, we could do like 30-second songs where,
I was going to kid on and saying that you just talked about a hotel room. I was going to kid on and say like you're going to write a brutal slam death metal project or something like that, So that's the beauty about Melted Messiah. You just don't know what the hell is going to come next.
That's exactly the idea. Yes,
but we can't.
It's an argument I have. Sorry, you can't tell us it.
That's a secret.
Well, I tell you what, see when you're ready to talk about it, you know where to talk about it first.
We will.
Oh, yeah. We will. Idea.
You put me off my stride there. You've done it again. Sorry.
No, we don't like to stick to the same genre in the course of one song. We like to, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Duck and dive.
Yeah.
Bob and weave.
But that's what I was going to say. See, you're good at reminding me, Mark. Thank you for that. But that's an argument. I've done so many interviews now, and the older generation, like yourself, Mark, John, you're still a young pup. They like to do album, couple of years really album, 40. Couple of years album, because they like the physical product, they like the lyrics, they like the artwork and things like that. Whereas the younger generation, they're like single, couple months, single. So was some good riffs always going to be an album, or did you think about doing like an EP and then in another 6 months release another EP with the 4 other songs or something like that, or was it always going to be an album?
It was always going to be an album. We had an idea. I had an idea that we should do 3 albums of 6 songs, 666. You know.
But then we did one with 7 just for
metal geekery.
Well, guess what the next 3 album releases are going to be then? Your next 3 releases are going to be 6 songs, 6 songs, 6 songs then?
No, well, it can't be because we duffed it because the Some Good Riffs has got the skits on it, so it wasn't just 6.
Makes it 7.
Ah, right, okay. So, no, I was thinking what to do next, but okay, I get your point. Okay.
Yeah, Some Good Riffs was always going to be an album. Because, as Mark says, the first album was just let's get his songs on recorded, and then Some Good Riffs is our album that we made together, and then what happens next is up for debate, and that's what we're saying. We've got these crazy ideas of maybe I would quite like to just release singles or EPs. I would like to do splits with like Acid Spawn, Robot Death Monkey, all these sort of bands that we've started to circulate the Melted Messiah orbit and get a little gang together of bands that are sort of, could become jazzroom, rostra sort of bands.
But for those that are new to Melted Messiah, then how would you say Some Good Riffs compares to sound-wise to Melted Messiah?
I think it's got a bit more depth to it because we thought it out a bit better. Then there was more of a thought process, whereas the previous album was just a case of kind of capturing what we already had just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, we both had like full creative input. And
do you welcome that, Mark? Do you welcome collaboration? Because did you feel a lot of pressure on you all the time, and you welcome John's input, or
I do, because although like I predominantly I've done like the bulk of the songwriting in terms of like the lyrics and what have you, and what I like about Some Good Riffs is like there's like John wrote Beers in the Air, for example. That's John. He wrote all of that. And all I did was change it ever so slightly just to make it fit.
Okay.
He means lyrically.
The structure.
Like Mark always does. If it's sort of like Rage Against the Machine, when they said at the end of their all sounds are made by drums, blah 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 blah. Like Mark, if you're hearing a guitar, Mark's come up with it. If you're hearing the drums, I've come up with it. Lyrically, on the second album, I stuck my oar in, but most of it's Mark's. And then I like to take a sort of arrangement. Yeah. So I'm sitting there behind the drums and I'm like, I can hear things that maybe Mark's not here, or I just get an idea and I'm like, oh, maybe you should do this. And I have that sort of role. But so it is collaborative, totally collaborative. But we were basically like, you're in charge of lyrics and the guitar, I'm the drum guy.
so what's it like when you're in the rehearsal, or when you're in the studio or basements or whatever like that, when you're negotiating what stays in and what goes out of a song? Like, I usually ask a band, like, do you have a voting system? But there's only fucking 2 of you. So, so I don't know whether there's like blood in the walls or there's fights in the studio, or usually or is it a case of like when one of you comes up with an idea, it works?
There hasn't been a lot of that, to be honest. There hasn't been a lot of cutting. And maybe that's I don't know. But I think we just always like what we're doing, and then we're just like, let's keep going with that. And
usually we're just like, I think it's just like we go, dude, that's awesome.
There's just a sort of shared like, this is going on. The most cutting we've ever done was that Black Agnes in the recording studio at that time. As I say, I was struggling to lay down the drum beat, and it was like, well, let's just change the structure of the song a little bit, and it became like 100 times easier to play. But in terms of like people being, having to fight for their riffs or their drum beats, that's not happened yet, I don't think. So maybe we'll come across that.
I mean, sometimes I'll go to John, I'll be like, oh, I'd like the sound of this kind of drum beat, but like, because I'm not a drummer, I don't necessarily know what it is. And he's like, oh yeah, that's a fucking triple kick or whatever, yeah, we could put some of that on. And then and then on the other hand, John sometimes we like, oh, could you do that riff that sounds like dun 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 dun, and we like, all right then, and then we do, and it's a pretty straightforward system.
There's not a lot taken away. There's a lot of just creating stuff in our band at the moment. There's not a lot of having to edit at the moment, which is a good thing, I suppose.
Absolutely. So maybe bands who'll watch this interview will probably look at the bassist and say, nah, you're fired. Nah, we only need the one guitarist. Nah, you're fired. So, no, I mean, you've obviously got a formula and you've got a chemistry and it's working. And then
we've got a chemistry. I don't know if we've got a formula. We've definitely got chemistry. I think that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely working. And the few years that you've been together, you've got 2 albums done. And by the sounds of things, we're not going to have to wait too long for album number 3. So fair play to you guys. Fair play to you guys.
There's definitely something in the works. Yeah, there's definitely something in the works, whether it's an EP or 2 EPs or an album. We'll figure something out. I think we'll definitely have something coming up quite soon.
You know where it'll get played first. My show every Thursday night, man.
With you.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, I was going to say, but because there's only 2 of you, then everything outside the band, like the marketing, the merch, the social media and stuff like that, it has to be done by you 2 guys.
I'll be back in a minute.
Do you see yourself like taking on roles that you didn't think that you would have to take on, or do you find that it's not a problem, or is it like a pain in the arse?
I don't know. I think you're probably best feeling this question to John.
John,
the mastermind.
Mark loves that side of it, right? And I don't really like that. So the thing is with us as well, we are very good at doing T-shirts. So I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy, as I say, ideas. I love coming up with like, well, we should put this on the T-shirt, or we should do that, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's no doubt that Mark carries the band, gets us gigs, does all that sort of stuff. Marketing. I'm not on any social media anymore just because I don't want to live like that. So he's doing all that. So yeah, I do.
So Mark, all he really does is turn up at gigs and fucking bashes that.
Barely turn up at gigs as well.
I mean,
if he remembers,
interview.
If he remembers,
I have to try myself.
But talking of the visual side, you brought up the visual side. There's 2 things I want to talk about the cover art for a wee second, and remind me to talk about videos. Not those videos, music videos, right? We'll clarify that. But the front cover for the album, then, who did you get to do the artwork for you?
I'll let you take this one, John.
Is it Some Good Riffs one?
Yes.
Yeah.
A tattoo artist that we've both frequented called, her tattooing name is Cat Doom on Instagram. If you were to look her up, you can see her stuff. She works out of Old Town Tattoo in Edinburgh. Cool. So hit her up if you want to get some ink. But yeah, Mark and I, Mark obviously got in touch, I think, and said we're doing an album about witches and.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because it's a question always. It's a question always like.
It's Mark's answer, because if there was going to be a like a sort of theme of the album, it's sort of Scottish folklore, and Mark dived into that for the lyrics of, like, Shroom Witch. The lyrics of the Shroom Witch verses are insane. If you can actually hear them, we should really release the lyrics somehow, because they're not in the.
We're going to do it. I'm halfway through a lyric video.
Yeah, I'm just going to get a drink. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, we'll go back to the artwork for a second. What I always ask is, what information did you give the artist for them to come up with a front cover? Did you give her the lyrics? Did you give her the whole album? Did you just say, this is what's in my head, this is what I want you to do? Or did you just give her free rein?
It was just that, well, we knew what her style was, because we both had some pretty cool tattoos from her, and we've seen her other work. And we were just like, we want something in your style, but this is the brief is that our album is kind of like about like witchcraft, fairy tales, mushrooms, and then let's see if you can capture all that. And then we were just like, but just do whatever you want as long as it fits on like a square, like on a CD cover.
Yeah.
And then we can also use it for t-shirts and what have you as well. So
yeah.
So that was.
Was there a wee bit of chewing and throwing, like going back to and say, could you tweak that, or was it first take? That's absolutely superb. That's exactly what I had in my head.
She sent us an absolutely amazing design the first time, and we were like, "Yep, we'll take it." And then we just had to. I think I needed to either make it slightly narrower or slightly wider. I can't remember which, in order for our logo to fit on the top. But other than that, absolutely spot on. Cool. And then we got her to do another little design as well. That's on the inside of the CD. It's just like a little mushroom with eyes on it. And yeah, so that's.
Is mushrooms a thing in Melted Messiah? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I mean, we don't take them.
They're
illegal ones.
But Mark loves actual mushrooms.
Well, so do I. So do I. So do I.
I do actually. I love going into the forest, and like a wee hobby of mine when I am there is going and like foraging for mushrooms, or not even foraging, but necessarily just like trying to find some and being like, oh yeah, that's what
I've got a friend, Katrina, that does the exact same thing. In fact, Mandy as well. So just it's definitely a hobby of some people,
It's a great hobby, and the best thing about it is that if you're good enough at it, you can find stuff that you can actually eat, and
and stay alive.
So but you're getting your dinner for free. You know what I mean? So that's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
There's certain ones that they don't look like anything else, so they can't possibly be anything other than this mushroom. So that's safe to pick, and then you can have it for your breakfast.
John, I think I may have to do a separate video, mate. He's on a roll here with friggin' mushrooms.
You brought up the mushrooms, mate.
Yeah.
But in terms of,
sorry, on you go, John.
Jump on the artwork thing, like she's the only Cats that did the artwork for the album, but all the t-shirts and anything that you've ever seen our name on comes from us, basically. Which is, again, a lot of the fun of being in our band is like, we always joke that we're a t-shirt company that plays very niche black metal, stoner doom. we love.
Who comes up with the t-shirt designs then? Is it both of you? Is it the more one person?
Yeah, we both just riff on it, and we're like, oh, that'd be cool. We should just do that. And we did a for the Red Crust Festival. We did a long sleeve with pizzas down the side of it, and like "In Crust We Trust" on the back of it. We have fun.
You fucking sold. I bet you sold
miles to buy these.
It did. We had one left on the day of the actual festival, but we sold the rest of them on pre-order.
Wow.
Yeah, and people have turned up just to our gigs to get the t-shirts. Like, I don't know if they stayed for the gig, but they've turned up to get the t-shirts. So that's crazy.
That's brilliant. Brilliant.
Mention that as well.
But that's true, by the way. There
absolutely.
When we did the Melted Messiah Scotland one, the one with the sort of Motorhead rip-off, I guess, it's got a kitten on it. We got messages on Instagram like, when can we buy this t-shirt? And like, people turned up to a gig in one of our gigs in Glasgow, bought a t-shirt, and I don't even know that they stayed and watched us. They just wanted the t-shirt. And I was like, all right, fair enough.
A sale's a sale, isn't it?
Yeah, money in our pocket.
Yeah. But talking about the second half of the visual side, we've talked about the artwork. I have noticed that your YouTube channel is quite a wee bit empty of late. But you did briefly mention there about a lyric video. So what have you got in mind? Who are you getting to do it? And for what particular song are you allowed to say?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually doing it myself, because everything we do, we pretty much do ourselves.
DIY.
Something like 3/4 of the way through a lyric video for Shroom Witch off of Some Good Riffs. Wow. And the reason for that is because, like, when I wrote those lyrics, I took a photo, like, and sent it to John. I was like, what do you think about this? And he was just like, what were you like, John? Dude.
Yeah.
It's like, because
There's
I
a
think
lot of
like
stuff he sends me. I can't remember
I was just like,
specifically my reactions, but yeah, it's usually like, dude, or like, yeah, that'll do, pig.
but that's like, I think like lyrically, that's like the best I've ever come up with.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
lyrics for
right.
that are
We should, yeah.
are
That one
ridiculous, and
deserves a
that's
lyric
why
video. Yeah,
it lends itself to a lyric video.
yeah, totally.
Because like you sort of want to showcase that, because I'm really proud of the songwriting there. Like the
Totally.
song itself is great as well, but
Absolutely.
it's just like it's really complicated. It sounds more complicated than
Complicated
anything we've
but
done before.
concise, and it's like two. It's what, I don't know really,
Two
but what,
verses.
16 bars.
Yeah.
It's the first section of the song, because the last part of the song is all instrumental. So it's just, I think we worked out that it's a 2-minute song with a 6-minute instrumental at the end of it, or something like that. But within those,
And that's what I
bars,
love about your songs. I mean, obviously, I love the vocals and everything like that, but see, when you take like the last song, the last part of the song, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, it's just riffs and drums. I'm like, that's fucking spot on. I mean, I'm primarily death metal through and through. But see, when I hear shit like this, I can't. I said it last night in the radio. I'm like, I can't stop fucking headbanging the Black Agnes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
great.
You just,
that's so good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I do it every time.
Because that's the thing. Like as funny as like this Some Good Riffs name coming from that, you know. But that's the thing. Every band's just striving to get some good riffs, and I think the idea that we've named an album after that concept of just striving for that. Like I was watching, part of the reason that I couldn't drive to Mark's was because I was having a couple of beers watching Metallica at Amsterdam, and I was watching an interview, and he was saying, even there, like 41 years in, like still trying to find the riff, that unattainable riff that we're all trying to search for, basically. So
it's like getting his first hit, isn't it? You can't fucking replicate it. Can't replicate it. But we've got 7 minutes of this session left. But since you brought up the subject of lyrics, Mark, are you the type of vocalist that you read a lot of books, you watch a lot of documentaries, you watch a lot of telly, or are you've always got a piece of paper and a pen on you, you open the front door, you see something in the street, you take a note of it and you go back on it? What type of like lyricist are you? Where'd you get your lyrics from?
There's a lot of it is kind of biographical.
About yourself.
What's the word? You know the word. Yeah, about previous experiences. What's that word?
Autobiographical.
Yes,
biographical. That's the one.
See, ideas, man.
Yeah. Sometimes there's stuff I need to like, because what I found, I watched an interview with Abath once, and from Immortal, and he was talking about corpse paint and why people wear corpse paint, and I always found it like really it struck a chord with me. And he said the reason why people wear corpse paint is because they wear their demons on the outside, and so that they can project them outwards. So then when you take the corpse paint off, that's like the demons away. So like a lot of our stuff, we were talking about this the other night actually, a lot of our lyrical themes are actually like really heavy, like not heavy as in heavy metal, but like hard to deal with, be like mental illness, addiction, things like that. There's a few things that, and sometimes you're like, holy fuck. So yeah, it's in one sense it's just about sort of catharsis and like sort of dealing with these things that I've got going on, and then like projecting them outwards, and then sort of getting rid of them, so that I'm no longer boxing them up.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is it a case of like things have happened in your past life that you haven't had a chance to express yourself, and you put in your lyrics, and when you do it live, that's you just getting it out
pretty
there,
much
releasing it,
pretty much. But then we've got some songs that are just like about nonsense, like, but there are some that are like Try Mention the Overlord is from our last album was just basically like, what about if we were like two sort of space warriors fighting a monster? And that's what that's about. However, then we've got
Are you sure you guys don't take mushrooms?
Not those ones. I don't like mushrooms, but he likes.
But then we've also got.
I like them in my bolognese. But like,
we've also got.
Furnison's a good example off of the new
Yeah.
album. The new album. So that's just like a fictional story. Fernison's like a aged roadie, like that me and Mark just started joking about in the, just like joking, talking shit sort of thing in the rehearsal room, and then Fernison got his voice, and he's a character all of a sudden, and then I think I wrote some lyrics down for that and sent it to Mark, and he doctored them for the song, and then so there's a mix of like stuff that's like personal to Mark, and then other stuff that's more sort of fictional based, but comes from a place of like, we're going to write songs about a sort of roadie character,
We've also dabbled in a couple of like Scottish legends as well, and this one as well, because we were thinking we didn't want to go like down a whole concept album route and be like stuck to just like one thing. We could have done a whole album about Scottish mythology or whatever, but we were like, there was a couple of different things that were like, yeah, this might work. So we were originally going to, because I live in Fife, there's a lot of history in Fife with regards to witch trials and what have you, and there's quite a few locations locally that cover that, and like there's the Tory witch that was buried under a slab in the beach, like not far away from where we are, and we were like, why don't we write a song about this? So what we come up with was Shroom Witch, which was basically an amalgamation of some historical fact. But then we were thinking, well, why don't we see what might potentially have happened if this witch actually was a witch, and could use the medium of like the like nature around her and attack people using mushrooms, and that's where that came from. Black Agnes is actually, I don't know if it's historically accurate, but I mean, apparently the wife of Sonny Bean, the cannibal, was called Black Agnes, and it's whether or not Sonny Bean actually existed, whether he was like a historical guy or if he was mythological. So we basically, that is about Sonny Bean and his family, and that's where that name comes from.
Unbelievable.
But other than that, like I think the rest of the songs are. I mean, there's a lot of biographical stuff in there that we need to sort of get out, or I need to get out, and it's a good medium to do it.
Absolutely is. Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, John's had to unfortunately leave us just now, but he was annoying anyway. So thanks very much, Mark, for sticking with us. I like to do interviews and things like that, but I can guarantee you this will not be the last time that we'll have a conversation. We'll certainly do everything that we can do in Moshville Times. We'll also play you on the radio station. We'll get you on the radio station. You're obviously playing Oktoberfest as well. So we'll certainly do what we can. So please, when you've got anything new, you know exactly where to come.
Absolutely. Well, I would definitely appreciate the support so far as well. And it's a good platform to be on as well, especially with the success of the last Winterfest. I really enjoyed that. So I'm really looking forward to playing.
Well, hopefully it'll be more successful than Winterfest. So we'll see how it goes. I think it was like -10 outside that day. So that's why we moved it to October. Plus the fact it's my 50th birthday, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to buy a ticket, it'll be in the link. I'll buy you a beer. But yes, I've only got like 2 questions left. So thanks, Mark. So unfortunately, John doesn't get his glory, because now is the time where I generally ask what were the instruments of choice that you used for the recording of the album. So what was your guitar setup? What was your amps? What was your pedals? What did you use?
Okay. Right. It's not got a hugely complicated setup, but
It would be. You're not like a geek
it's.
then? You don't have like 40 pedals on your board or anything like
Oh
that?
no, I do, but it's still in the grand scheme of things, it's not hugely complicated. So what the first most important thing is that I play through two amplifiers at the same time.
Okay.
And that's the case for recording and also for live as well. And that's why we get the big, massive sound. Um, and the amplifiers that I use are Ampeg guitar amps. They're solid state amplifiers that are actually come from Florida death metal. Really, they were like the sort of the Ampeg SS 150 is what I use, and
How did you come
it was
across them then?
just I'm a bit of a geek for amplifiers. Like I like old amplifiers, and I don't necessarily it doesn't necessarily follow that you have to have a particular one or whatever. I've never thought that, so it's like why not try this one? And so the ones that I use are Ampeg SS 150, which is a solid state amp, and it's not a valve amp. So it uses transistors rather than power valves, but it's loud as fuck. And what the most like the most famous proponents are basically all of the Florida death metal scene, from like back in the day, all of them, and notably nowadays, I Hate God, I think, still use them as well. So um, I use two of them, and basically I have an A/B pedals that I plug my guitar in, and the signal goes through one set of pedals on one side to one amplifier,
Yeah.
and it goes through another set of pedals on the other side to another amplifier. And my pedal setup isn't particularly difficult to figure out. They're just basically all distortion and a phaser pedal. That's it. But I've got like four or five different distortion pedals. Sometimes I use them all at the same time, sometimes I don't. So on one side, I have got like so if I imagined I was like a lead guitarist, I've got my lead guitar set up on one side, so it's more of a kind of a trebly sound. The EQ on the amp is set more to treble. You know, if you can imagine, I also had a bass player playing behind me. That would be the kind of tone I needed,
Yeah.
and that goes through just a Proco Rap distortion pedal, and I also use a made in Japan HM2 pedal. You know, like the chainsaw sound, and
Favorite
it's
sound.
set for the chainsaw setting. So they've turned the volume down ever so slightly, but other than that, it's maxed out. So that I kick that in every now and then. But aye, so we try to be like not not typically heavy metal, but it's wild and it feeds back. And the guitar that I've got is a Gibson Les Paul. Hold on 2 seconds, I've got it
Yeah.
right over here.
Let's go and get it.
This Gibson Les Paul.
Nice.
It has some whirlwinds, P90 pickups. So they're
No
none of
seven
the
strings, I see. Only six.
no seven, just six. Yeah, and yeah, P90s because
What do you tune it to?
nail. What's that?
What do you tune it to?
D, just D. So it's just one step down, not like nothing crazy. And it's P90 pickups are basically the noise that's the I think that's the essence. Not many people in metal play them because nobody thinks they're made for metal. But as soon as I got this guitar, I was like, okay, I've never had P90s before, and they just got this like really, I don't know, kind of primal snarling kind of sound to them. And they're just like, "Eh." And they're really. I guess it's probably more of a punk guitar, but yeah, it definitely works. So I'll just pop it back 2 seconds.
It certainly looks like a punk guitar with the war wounds on it.
Oh, aye. That's hold on.
It sounds as if it's got more war wounds on it now.
Aye. Aye. So I've only got two guitars. I've got three guitars. I've got an acoustic as well, but like it's only two guitars. I don't feel like I need to have a guitar for every occasion. That
Yeah.
one does. It's loud. It's loud and
So what do
obnoxious.
you do when you break a string live? You're like, you don't have a backup guitar.
Nah,
You just take a minute out to restring it.
yeah, it's not the end of the world. I generally don't break strings. Don't play that complicated. So yeah, so there's that guitar goes into some distortion pedals on one side, and then I have got a really expensive pedal, which is a Sun Life pedal, which is the band Sun or Sun O
Yes, I know.
hyphen hyphen hyphen,
Mm.
and that's always on the other guitar amp, and that just is so brutal. It's so heavy, and it just fills the whole room. If you played a chord on that and just let it ring out, it would just go
On and on.
forever.
Yeah.
And like 30 minutes later, people would still be their ears would be bleeding. So on one hand, I've got like my kind of trebly guitar sound, and then on the other amp, it goes through like another whole signal chain, just goes through that life pedal, and then it goes into another SS 150. And I don't go through like an octave pedal or anything. I just turn the EQ it's slightly different, so the bass is turned up on that one, and the treble's down right back.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's two guitar sounds, but it's just that they're like slightly different EQ, and one's got significantly more gain than the other one. So the one in the back, when you see us live, you'll appreciate it. Like
Absolutely.
it's just like
But with you
right
being the
in your
vocalist
face.
as well, like, and because you said you're a geek, did you did you go through like a range of microphones before you were fully satisfied with the sound of one, or are you just like an SM58 and I'll fucking sing into it? I don't care.
Well, almost actually, because I'm a geek and because I don't like to do things like the traditional way. Uh, I have tried lots of different microphones, and I've tried like everybody when they record like, oh, you must use a SM7B, which is like the big, huge,
Yeah.
Shure one. And we've tried some nice like ribbon microphones and stuff like that in the studio and that, but I usually just use a SM57, which is actually this one here. I don't know if you can
Yep.
see it.
Yep. There you
Yeah,
go.
that one. So that's what I also use live as well. So it's a SM57, which you would traditionally just use for instruments, but I've got a pop filter on the top of it, same as what the President of the United States uses, actually, incidentally. So when you see the
I
President
don't know
of
if
the
that's
United
anything
States,
to brag about, by the way.
I know, but that's what they use. So if it's good enough to pick up that whatever bullshit they're talking about, it's good enough for me. Um, so when you see next time you see the president of the United States walking up to his wee podium, right, you'll notice he's got two microphones and they're both SM57s, and they've got this wee filter on it, the same as I
Interesting.
have.
Interesting.
So that's where that comes from. But yeah, SM57 is the one for me.
Cool. I've only got one last thing, but I just have to say thank you very much for this interview. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you, and
Welcome.
not forgetting John. As I said, we'll do our bit for round Moshville, whether it's the radio, whether it's Moshville Times. We'll do our bit for you. But you're going to play Moshville Oktoberfest, and or whatever gig that you've got. You've got your set list in front of you. What song are you looking forward to playing the most? What song can you not wait till you get to? What's your favourite?
I think it's not necessarily my favorite, but because it's your birthday and it's the one that you like, I can't wait for you to hear Black Agnes live because it's a total banger. It starts off really quick, like
Yes.
with the deep beats in it. And initially, we had sort of alluded to it earlier on, but initially it had a chord change, so the initial D beat section was actually twice as long.
Yeah.
So it actually went and then it went. But because John had to hold on for dear life during the D beats and the riff was quite complicated as well, we were just, when we were in the studio, we were like, nah, fuck it, let's just fuck the key change, get that to fuck, or else we're just going to end up smashing our instruments and walking out of here and never achieving anything. But that wee changeover, do you know what I mean? Like where there a dB stop and it goes kind of quiet.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And then and if you haven't heard that live before, and it goes so quiet when we play it live, like you could hear a pin drop, and nobody really knows what to expect. Some people, if you've not heard it before, you're like, oh, is everything all right? Have they broken something? And then just when it just kicks in and just like, you're like, whoa. I want to see your face when you see that, like in real life, because I think you'll really enjoy it.
Well, I guarantee you'll be front row, and I hope that you'll put some colour into my hair when you play that riff then.
Yeah, bring ear defenders too. I would definitely recommend ear defenders.
Sounds
we
good
like
to me,
feel
mate.
the wind at our backs.
Sounds good to me, mate. Sounds good to me. But listen, like I said, when you've got new stuff ready, whether it's just a single or whatever, you've got like your lyric video ready, let me know. I'll do an article for it. Just keep in touch with me, and we'll do our shit to promote you guys, because you guys definitely deserve to be promoted. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I look forward to seeing you in just over a month's time.
We'll be there.
Good.
Cheers.